Well, the testing is, this is the third and final day of the week, right, of testing, and then it comes back next week. All the assessment tests, and I haven't gotten into it much because it's like a God-blessed civil war for people. However, I will, do you care to speak about your kid?
No, she's taking the test.
Yeah. As ours is too. Mm-hmm. But that's our choice. And I'm thankful that there is nobody interfering with that, whether it be students or teachers or anybody else. And it's a choice. So I'm not criticizing anybody that chooses to keep their kids out of it. It is what it is. But I'm hearing some really interesting stories surrounding what not only is going on, and I mean, there are robocalls, but when the kids start being brought into this, I think that's inappropriate, and that seems to be happening in some hopefully rare instances.
I will say my son goes to private school, and the way that they've handled it is very different. They are very anti-test, and they're not taking the test.
Oh, they're pushing
the
that?
whole school is not taking the test.
Wow.
So
the entire
school is not taking the test.
Are they looking to break the record, which was what, Dolgeville or New York Mills had the highest in the state last year. But the numbers are pretty big. This is going, and I really don't want to get into my opinion on it, but I give anybody, listen, if you're standing up, good for you, whatever you believe in, but I give credit to those kids that are going to school and sitting through the test, and because what kid in the world wants to take a test, right? Mm-hmm. So for us, it was our choice, and the fact that we're not, the stories that concern me are kids that are either being bullied by students about it. And I know the bully word, boy, we're just so oversensitive today. But if your kid is being ridiculed in school because why are you taking the test? This isn't the right thing to do. Right. That's just not cool. And if teachers are getting involved and explaining to the students how these tests are age inappropriate, how they're too tough on kids, et cetera, well, those teachers should be fired, in my opinion. And there's an easy way to handle that. If you had a teacher that was doing that, you would just call the state ed department, and you'd file a Part 83 against that teacher. It's a form that you would file, and it would tie that teacher up in court for several months, and it could very well cost them their job, because that, to me, is crossing the line. If you're a teacher and you're putting your own views, whether they're political or religious or union or whatever this whole thing is that appropriate? That's crossing a really, really big line. And I heard a story yesterday about a parent that went through that. And I have, I know my wife's a teacher. But that teacher should be fired. Period. Try it. Go ahead, try it today at your workplace. Go ahead and completely defy and then continue to defy and see what happens to you. I just don't understand how people can even think about doing that to kids. Mm-hmm. Again, I'm not critical. If you don't let your kid take the test, or you've chosen, or your kid doesn't want to take the test, that is your choice. But if you're pressuring kids or other parents, that is to me, that's a problem. At the same time, if you believe that your kid should, if I say I believe that the kid should take the test, and I begin pressuring you to take the test, or your kids, or talk, then that's inappropriate. The same thing should happen. If the teacher were doing that, they should be fired too.
We know our children theoretically better than anyone else does. So if someone makes the decision that it's just too stressful for their child to take the test, that's one thing.
The testing isn't stressful for my daughter. It's the doing the dishes and taking out the garbage. For me,
you let her opt out of those?
No, because that's the stressful part. I mean, that's the part that she wants out. Again, if you choose, and there's a lot of people, I think the numbers are going to be high this year.
It is. Yeah.
I think it's going to be higher than last year. But if you're bringing the kids into it, I think that's a mistake. All right, just my take on the whole thing. How about this court decision in Albany? Parents can legally now eavesdrop on young children if they reasonably. Now this is pretty tricky. You know that in New York State, so eavesdropping would be the app, right? There's an app out there that you can put on your kid's phone, and you will know everything that they're typing, who they're talking to, which phone numbers they're calling, and every little text digit that comes out of their phone, you will know it. It's going to show up right in this app. Is that legal or illegal? Well, the court is basically saying it's legal in New York to do it, and you're completely all for it.
First of
You
all,
are, Christine, not only for it, but this is something she's promoting.
well, I think that you can't know enough with regard to your children. And thankfully, my children aren't listening. So, but you really can't.
Especially at the age of...
Especially when they're in their preteens
12,
and
13,
teens,
yeah.
when it's their job, so to speak, to kind of push the envelope.
Christine, I can imagine. See, now you say, well, especially when they're in their preteens, because your kids are in their preteens. But I can imagine in a couple of years when they're in their teens, you're going to go, especially when they're in their teens.
Well, no, I said preteens and teens, and my son is a teenager, and my daughter's preteen.
Do you think Manaski that should stop when they're teenagers?
No, I don't. I do think the kids do need some privacy. I don't think you should, give them the keys to the car and the computer and just let him go have fun.
How old is Carter?
He's 4 months old.
Okay, so check back with us in about 9 years when
The kid
little
can't
Susie,
walk yet.
when little Susie, whomever,
He can't get out of the house.
It's great. I put him
Yeah.
down, I come back, and he's still there.
Yeah.
He can't move
Amazing.
yet.
I got to tell you, this kid is well behaved. Other kids are out drinking. My kid's still in the crib. It is amazing.
I know this because
Saturday night, 8 o'clock at night. Where's my kid? In the crib. These other kids out boozing it up.
I moved out of my house when I was 15. So as soon as I could drive,
Yeah, that was early.
as soon as I could drive in Florida, because you get your permit early,
You were
I was
gone.
gone. And I maybe should have had a little. If there were cell phones,
Are you tough on your kids because you of what you did as a kid?
I'm tough on my children. No, because I really didn't do that much.
You don't seem like you were a wild.
No, I think I was too afraid of real life to be wild. But I think that
Yeah, when Christine was 13, she was a punk rocker. Yeah, it was crazy.
you've seen pictures of me when I was 13. You know that I was not a punk
I've
rocker.
never seen spikes so big on a leather jacket. It was unbelievable. You could poke an eye out with that.
Now, can I just say, I do think it's appropriate to eavesdrop if you think you're about to catch the kid doing something or they're doing something wrong.
This is why I feel so strongly about this, because I know children who post stuff that I know if their parents knew about it, they would be absolutely appalled. They post stuff on social media. They post bus numbers. They post pictures of themselves. I want to know what my children are doing.
So you have the passwords.
I don't have the app.
You don't even have the app.
Mm-mm.
Okay, so they're not even.
But I have the passwords.
There's no. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm just saying you'll have the passwords of if there's a Facebook page or a YouTube or anything like that. You have the passwords and all that stuff. In this case, 4-3 ruling in the Court of Appeals involved a cell phone recording of a man threatening to beat the 5-year-old son of his live-in girlfriend. Okay, so this gets a little confusing. So there's a man who's, I believe, if I have this right, whose ex has a boyfriend, and the boyfriend is threatening the child, and the father is suspicious of his ex's new boyfriend. So he does he does pretty much a little FBI deal and began recording using the phone. And the law in New York State has been that if you're recording a phone conversation, you can do it without telling the other person on the other end of the line. So if you're sitting there and talking with Bob, and you want to record Bob, you can do it. All you have to do is hit record. You don't have to tell Bob that you're recording. Mm-hmm. But if Bob and Joe are talking, and Jeannie would like to record that conversation, and they want to find out, Jeannie wants to find out what Bob and Joe are talking about, and Jeannie records that conversation without telling Bob or Joe, that's against the law.
In New York.
In New York State. Many states, you can't even record a phone conversation without telling somebody. But at least in New York, you can do it with one party knowing. You could be that party. This is a little different because this is recording everybody, and it turns out he ends up catching the live-in boyfriend threatening to beat the 5-year-old son. And I think it went beyond that and turned out, as the case completely, as it finished off, the guy ended up getting arrested, and there was abuse going on in the household. So the father was then charged because it's against the law to eavesdrop on someone like that. Turns out the court said he felt there was a danger. It's an underage child. It's his child, and he was allowed to do it. 5-4 ruling, though, or 4-3 ruling, I think it was, at the appellate court. So it was close.
Close.
Yeah.
So not only do you have a legal responsibility for your children prior to a certain age, right? Because you're held responsible. In some cases, parents can go to jail if their child commits a crime. you have a moral, ethical, and legal obligation to protect your children, and that's part of that all falls in the same
deal.
thing.
Yeah. Coming up, Sarah Chamberlain. Is Donald Trump, I hate to say this, Jim Zecca, close your ears. You don't want to hear this. Is Donald Trump, is he petering out, as they say? Sarah Chamberlain, an expert on all of it. We're going to talk to her coming up next. And then Andre Reed from the Buffalo Bills and a free money question of the day, all coming up. Here's Christine with an update.